10 signs your software project is headed for failure. Ooh, I've been on a few of those. Hello, I'm Chris Thanis. I'm a KMP developer. Tech support said they're coming out to turn that one off. Any Tuesday now would be great, guys. I'm going to be reacting to this video by Continuous Delivery, which has a great channel most of the time, about 10 signs your software project is headed for failure. Now, I wish I've been on a lot of projects, software projects, and some of them went great and some of them failed. It would have been nice to know a little ahead of time or while I was in the middle of it, because a lot of them just caught me off guard because there was no YouTube back then. It was just everything was you're going through it for the first time, and you just hope for the best. Let's see what he has to say.
How can we tell that we're on the path to success or sliding down a slippery slope towards disaster in our software projects? Here are 9 warning signs that signal that you might be headed off track, plus a few ideas of how to fix them.
All right.
Farley of Continuous Delivery, and welcome to my channel.
What's up?
If you haven't been here before, please do hit subscribe.
Yeah, you can.
And if you enjoy the content today, hit like
and subscribe.
as well.
I
Software development is an incredibly difficult thing to do well, because software is less constrained than most things that human beings do.
Well,
we can build almost anything, which makes it hard to decide what to build in the first place.
Well,
programming itself can be easy. The challenge is making sure that we deliver something that effectively, safely, and reliably does what people want.
I mean, yeah, that is the goal, right? But like, people don't know what they want. They have things they want changed. Somebody else can do it better. Now they're doing this other thing. Now we have to think, how do we differentiate our thing from that thing? Yeah, that's the hard part. The code putting the bits on the screen and stuff. That is, I mean, there needs to be some skill involved with that. But to make it changeable and updatable and modifiable and then understandable, that is hard.
So how do we know if we're on the right track?
Debuggable.
Let's dive into 9 warning signs, plus a bonus 10th sign that could mean that there's trouble ahead.
All right.
But before we begin, let me say thank you to our sponsor.
Yes, you can go to his channel, watch the commercial
that we discuss here on the channel every one. Success depends. Check out their links in the description below. Yeah. Warning sign number 1: success depends on the execution of a perfect plan. Planning is good, but all plans are wrong.
We're like trying to get the solution to the problem that the customers that we've found that have the problem that we can get in the middle of and to provide a solution for that's better than the thing they're doing already. Yeah, if we can do that, then yeah, we're good. If we can't, then we're in trouble.
We must leave room in any sensible plan to correct the inevitable mistakes when we find them.
Okay.
When we make our plans,
or we just abandon it. That abandonment is sometimes an option. Sometimes it's time to cut losses. Some things shouldn't be saved. Some things were not meant to be saved. Some things were meant to be thrown up and thrown away and go to the next one. Go like an experiment. Maybe we, taking it around back and putting it out of its misery is probably the best option sometimes. Let's keep going.
We know the least about our project that we will ever know going forwards.
True.
That's just reality rearing its ugly head. There's no escaping it, really. Even if our plan is perfect, external factors will change and make it no longer perfect. Think of it like working within the cone of uncertainty.
Speed it up a little.
Short-term plans can be fairly precise because there's a little range for variation, but the further out we travel in that cone, the further out along the timeline, the less certain we can be. Red flags here are if we're forced to treat both deadlines and scope as fixed, or if our plan includes some detailed work breakdown far into the future. Both of these are significant signs.
Well. Okay, there's 2 types of detail, right? There's the implementation detail, and then there's figuring out what problem space are we navigating inside detail. Those are different levels of detail. One, you're going to need to know because you want to try to create a solution around that problem space. So the more stuff you need to, the better you better kind of get that right. But the implementation, we should make it so, yeah, the implementation we pick is probably going to be wrong. We're going to need to change it, update it, make it better. Is that part of it? Or should we just plan on throwing this away? Like this is an experiment because we're going through the first time or the second time maybe, and we're just trying to refine this thing. And we should just plan on building this thing to throw it away. And then version 3, but around version 3 is when we should be picking up a lot of users to fund these operations. Let's keep going.
Signs of trouble. The fix is to keep long-term plans at the level of outcomes, features or user stories, and review progress and revise the plan frequently as we learn more as we go.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. But knowing the problem space, right? What are we going after, and what slice are we going to peel off first? of a solution, or do we have to create a whole solution and then give it to somebody, or can we just give it in pieces? Like, if we can give it in pieces, that's the best way. Or sketch it out ahead of time and get people to sign up with money, not just a free plan. No, if they're paying money down on the table, $5, you're the first people to see it, or whatever. So some kind of gate where they have to actually have to pay money, not just, oh yeah, of course I'll use your free software. It's like, no.
Our goal is to make short-term work breakdowns only inside a development team. Don't include them as part of the bigger picture plan. This way, you can more easily adjust things as you learn more. You're less coupled to the detail of some future imagined way of doing things. So our best strategy is to always organize our plans so that any detail is only focused on the very short
Okay, so
term.
are we structuring the contract this way? Does the business know where we're doing this? How do you get sign off on the managers to approve this plan? Then we don't know we're gonna build all the way yet. I talk about the adventure driven. It's like, yeah, well, you have the solution. The only solution that I've seen that actually works is we got 6 months, we got 3 months, and we have to come up with something. And we're gonna, if we found a market that we of users, and we have found a problem that we're trying to address, and we got 3 months to build this thing and see what we can come up with and how many people we can sign up ahead of time to maybe validate this thing before we go forward and further. It's that level kind of thing. And if we can't do it, well, then we go back to begging for jobs someplace else. I don't know what to tell you. That's just the reality how these things actually go. But you can put pretty, make it pretty up or whatever, but it is time limits on these things. And that's where we get a little something like we get a little enamored with these plans and not understand there's just a time limit. It's like, and put that stuff right ahead, right in the front, and we'll understand what the goals are in mind. That's the idea of the adventure driven stuff. It's like putting that stuff up front.
And anything further out in the future
will get
increasingly vague the further out we go. One useful technique to help with all of this is to separate planning into two distinct parts: planning for outcomes and planning the work.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. You have the solution space that you have to you have to get some pretty detail about what the solution that your users are gonna be paying for. You have to kind of get the intuition, or talk to people, or get some insight of a market you've been in, because you've been in developing something, you've been in this space, or trying something else, or some friend knows this thing, some opportunity that you see there. That's normally not seen. Yeah, then there's the implementation. Yes, those are two different worlds. In implementation, you want to be as flexible as possible, and understand also we need to implement something to see if this idea, this business even has traction, or this concept, or these feature sets, or this effort's even worthwhile. Let's keep going.
Detail, that should be a big warning sign, because they will certainly be wrong. If you are slavishly following them anyway, this is more than a warning sign. You're almost certainly already off track.
Well, I mean, slavishly, or what do you believe that this is the solution? I don't know if it's the slavish thing, but if you think that this is the solution that your users are looking for, I mean, how are you going to know you're off on the track? Okay, let's keep going.
If we find ourselves being driven by plans like these, we're very likely to fail.
I don't know. So I've seen people go straight forward with a plan, and they kind of had a vision of what needed to be done, and their users already picked out, and the solution space that you feel like you were going to be, because they're into the problem space, and how our user themselves that go right after it. Yeah, I've seen that work. Actually, I've worked in lots of companies that did that. Like Hockey Dave, come on.
Plans lead to lots of very poor behaviors that will only cost us more.
Sometimes not. Some people are dedicated on a certain problem space and creating solutions in that space. That's how Macintosh came in to being. That's how Apple One came into being. That's how Unix was started. Come on now.
Time, effort, and money in the long run. Symptoms of this kind of failure are something called watermelon status reporting. That it's green on the outside but red in the middle. So report the green bits.
So you're using the KPIs. You're meeting the metrics by word, but not really in spirit.
Management. Are you on track? Yeah, sure.
But they're all on track. But how on track for what? How on track? What do you mean on track? We got 3 months. We're hitting tickets. I'm making meetings. You want to come in? You tell us if we're on track. Is this the problem space? Have you got the sales calls? Did you tell me? We got users lined up? Are they signing up on this feature set, Mr. Sales Manager, Mr. Manager Man? Like, what? You tell me.
In reality, we're busy cutting corners to
meet. You can see the calendar. We have 3 months. What?
Artificial deadlines set by the plan. So wasting time and effort on dealing with the crap that we created last time because we cut all of those corners. You can't fix time and scope.
I mean, maybe you have to cut corners, but the thing is, like, a lot of these people, I just don't know this there's this thing about like can't throw the code away. It's throw the code away, start over, we'll go faster. We've already learned a bunch of stuff in the problem space. Now we can have, instead of trying to rearrange the Lego pieces, let's just knock them all down, start up again. It'll be a lot faster. It'll be 80%, 90% faster than what you just did. Maybe even 200% faster, because we're just building something up again, and we're not getting rid of the cruft and all the stupid little decisions and gotchas. Whoops, I forgot that and put that over there. Yeah, we just get rid of that and start it up again. That's like, people are so afraid to do that. Like, oh my God, it's going to take us long. No, it's going to take, we'll go a lot faster. Watch. As it always does. Because we already take the learnings, which is, we're all confused what the hell we're building and for who, why. And now we already know that. And we already see all the gotchas in here. We kind of guessed wrong, which you were trying to interpret what you guys wanted. And now we like build it up again with all that stuff. It's like, okay, we had that clear. It's like, and then we'll have a new set of problems. It's like, it's how parasites are clean. This is one of the theories they have about why living creatures have to reproduce as opposed to just split in half or whatever. We actually reproduce a whole new container being cell, is that we get rid of parasites. And we get rid of parasites that way. So get rid of bugs. Get rid of little crafty little weird things. Just that gets flushed away, and we have a whole new being that comes into being that, yeah, that's one of the reasons we think that reproduction started. Let's keep going.
So any plan that attempts to do this is definitely wrong. Now, everybody says that they know that this is true, but at the same time, nearly everybody does it anyway. Trying to fix time and scope in a plan.
Yeah, because you have to convince people to invest money way differently. Like the MBA Harvard guys, they're running these companies. They think that we can just like come up with the solutions, bam, and this, let's get the factory going. Okay, in software, the factory floor has been solved. It's called software development, and it's called the App Store, and people can download the exact thing we upload. That problem is solved. So we're not building facts. What we're trying to do is knowledge work here, which is like finding a new space and then designing a product or service around that problem space. And that's hard to do because it's humans. It's taste. It's all about curation. It's about like language, context, art, like style, like a focus on a particular. It could be an engineering thing, or it could be like a phone queue thing where you want to get in and out as quickly as possible, or call. How about call me back automatically instead of me waiting on the phone? Or I can just, maybe we can put me through a text messages instead of me talking to somebody and waiting on the phone. Oh my God, that's that kind of stuff.
And is superstition more than it is planning. Certainly be definite.
Yeah. Scope. Well, so the scope is, so you can only say to time on the scope. How much time we have. We're going to make progress, and we're going to actually see if we want to keep going and if it makes sense, if we're anywhere near the solution, or you don't. And ultimately, that's what, in reality, that's what happens. And some people like have longer time frames, and they think that they can extend it out, but like there is a time frame, there is a limit. And a lot of times you tell people what they are, what that is up front. You either show progress at this point in time, and we're going to stop talking about estimates, and we're either going to have some sort of milestone met, or we're not. And at that point, it's like, how far or close are you? Are you even get close at all? Then if you haven't, well, then you're done, Gutty. I don't know what to tell you. And if you've gotten close or it makes sense, it's like, well, then we'll keep going. This is not rocket science. It's just reality of how these situations work.
About fixing times, like impossible to move deadlines. But then leave the development team free to trim scope to meet the deadline. Alternatively, fix the scope, but then allow the team to define release dates when the target scope is achieved. As a rule of thumb, make any plan for work that's further ahead than a single iteration or sprint only at the level of the outcomes, rather than attempting
I don't even know
the work necessary to achieve those outcomes. Allow the people doing the work to figure out
why we do sprints. It's kind of silly, the whole idea of sprint. Let's keep
what to do to achieve the goals. Treat the work breakdown as part of the implementation, not part of the planning. The next warning sign.
Okay.
Throwing too many people at the problem.
Yeah, this is a classic one. This is the Harvard MBA people going, oh, it's just every business is a factory. So we just throw more people at the factory. We can split the problem up into even tinier slices. And every little piece can be done by a different person. And we can ship them off overseas. Like, yeah, that's not how this works, man. We're designing the thing. Okay, once it's in production, yes, we can have which is just the App Store, right? Once it's up there, we don't have to worry about that stuff. So some of these things can't be broken apart. Some people, it has to be one person's vision of how these things are put together, and people can input and they can take pieces of it. Possibly, I'm not sure if you can define the APIs. If that one person has the ability to develop and break these up into logical, or somebody else has done it, or there's been an evolutionary process involved that naturally break these things up into pieces. It's not always obvious how that is. Maybe we can put an API between the things, but that's really, ooh, it's usually one person, man. I just hate to say it. I hate to break it to you guys. It's like it takes just one mastermind, and people can fill in the, like. Usually, it's like one guy's doing like 80%, 90% of it, and then the 10% of this crufty work or monitoring or that kind of stuff, running interference with the managers. That's usually how it works out anyway. It's just square root of the number of people on the project that actually put in the effort. So let's keep going here.
Fred Brooks famously said in the 1970s, 9 women can't make a baby in 1 month.
Yeah.
More developers just slow the project.
This is a knowledge work issue, because in factories, 9 women can make a baby in a month, right? That's the whole thing. This is economy of scale. This is every other business instead of but software is like this. Well, maybe not advertising. I don't know. The soft ones are more like how computers are. It's like we don't know if we're right or not. We're not exactly until we get it out in the market. People actually look at it, and we get some results back. Yeah, and factories are, you can push 9. You can do the 9 babies, 9 women, 1 baby, 1 thing, but not in knowledge work. It's so frustrating, and it's really sad that the academia hasn't kind of caught on. Like, this is a whole different thing, man. Or maybe they have caught on, and this is just trade secrets. They already know all this stuff, but they kayfabe to you like, oh no, we have no idea how this works. We have this is a mystery. No, put 25 people on it. It'll make it go faster. Oh no.
Down and add complexity and almost never help you to go faster. Scaling means decentralizing decision making, dividing work into smaller, more autonomous.
The Conway's law as well, like, that's also in play. So it's just like you can't get away from this stuff. So you have to. It's just you just get lucky. People just get lucky because they get enamored with the problem, and they get enamored with the solution, and they put their life effort into it, and instead of something else. Like, I don't know what to say about it.
Teams, not throwing people at the problem. The data says that smaller autonomous teams are dramatically more productive than larger teams. Throwing people at a problem typically happens when people begin to panic about missed deadlines or unrealistic project scope expectations.
Yeah, that's factory worker stuff. That because these Harvard MBA people who took over they get all the VC funding because they all have their friends in Wall Street and all this, because of the ZERP that's just happened. They get in there and they tell all the businesses are factories, right? And they're like, you should just be able to throw people at it and everything's fine, right? And then it's like, no. And then you just put on people on deadlines, make them schedule projects out. It's like, no, man. That's not how this stuff is built. I know we want it to be. Wouldn't it be nice if we all knew? If I had a crystal ball, I could look in and go, I know exactly the response the customers would get when they see these things and these features. And I've already got the copy made. We just get an AI to tell us this stuff. And they're like, yeah, I'm the average customer of your type of user. And you can just give it things and tell it, is this going to work? Is this going to work? Well, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? But we don't got that. So we got to try stuff. And it's intuition and taste and curation. It's like, what art do you put in the gallery for these people that you've invited, that you've been showing art to? I don't know what to say. What else do you want to say? It's like that. It's more like the photography, right? It's like pictures of who, for what reason? Are you doing it for art magazine? Or are you doing some grungy street rag? Like, just doing it for your home collection? Or what is this? What are you doing?
Expectations. The main red flag here is that management suddenly hires a bunch of developers in a rush to meet some impossible plan.
Yeah, they always do that.
The fix for this is to decide which matters most, time or scope, and optimize for the one that matters the most.
It's always going to be time. No matter what, it's always going to be time. So we get to decide, developers have to decide the scopes. Like, okay, well, I give you 3 months or 6 months or whatever, 9 months. And, and I'm above that at the 3-month mark, you have to show these certain things that we want this to be shown. It should be reasonable. Like, if you can do better than that, great. But man, I'm telling you right now, if you don't produce something, it's done anyway. So I'm not trying to make the rules here. It's like we only got so much money, and we got 3 guys that you say are good to do this thing, and we've located, etc., etc.
If fixed scope is essential, I'd recommend questioning that to begin with, because it's rarely the truth. Remember, the scope that we think that we...
But you can fix the time. You can definitely fix the time, but you can't fix the scope. That has to be loosey-goosey. You get lucky sometimes, and sometimes you're using some new breakthrough technology, some new library, some new thing like KMP. Like for me, I was like, holy shit. I can do 4 platforms with one code base, including the UI. Hell yeah, I'm all about it.
Need at the start of a project will almost certainly be wrong. We will miss things, we will learn new things as we go, and the world will change.
You can't get it right. That's what he's trying to say. He's like, oh, you might get it wrong. It's like, no, you actually cannot get it right. You can't get the scope right because you have no idea what's going to be the hang up and what's going to go smoothly, what's going to be a gimme, what's going to be like, oh, shit, I didn't see this coming, or something that shows up that you have no awareness of. Let's keep going.
All of these things while we're working on the project. In fact, if you don't change your mind on scope as the project progresses, I think that you're almost certainly doing it wrong.
Well, I think the attitude is you're going to change the scope and you're going to change everything. We have no idea what we're going to do, how this thing's going to be put together yet. We haven't done this yet. Or you've done something like it, and we're doing this new part it's iffy.
And so, of course, are heading for a different kind of failure now. If we don't change our schedule and or our scope when new things happen, then we're pretty much doomed to fail.
No, you just keep the schedule, but you have to change the scope because we get away from the estimates. Well, how long is this piece going to take? How long is this piece going to take? We're going to break it up in 16 pieces, and every piece we're going to give a scheduled time for. We're going to estimate it out, and that's how we're going to know how long it's taking. Well, that's the problem. We don't know how long these take because we're the first time we've gone through some of this stuff. Or last time we did it was fine. This time we got new update to the library that doesn't include this thing over here. That's deprecated. This new thing over here we got to implement instead. It's that kind of stuff. You can't. Well, it was last time you did 26 days to do this. It's like, yeah, but that was a whole different operating system, a whole different language, it took 26. We just estimated 26 days. It's like, no, man, that's not how this works.
You see time or scope as your primary problem, either way,
I wish it did, though. Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to estimate these things when they ask us? It's like, yeah, you can just go look it up in the manual. It takes 3.2 seconds to do this thing on average. It takes 2.4 days on average, and we already know it. I'm pretty good. I do it in 1.6. You can check my stats. And then all the stats will be public, and you just see, yeah, I can. For mechanical stuff where you could turn a crank, you can kind of might get away with that stuff, but not like we have no idea what this thing is. The API changed, or that company went out of business, or they got sued because they were using the data wrong, or blah blah blah, and now you can't use that thing. You gotta use this other thing, or there's been a new phone that comes out. You gotta update for the phone because you want to get into that market before anybody else does. Blah 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 blah.
Work iteratively, practicing continuous delivery so that your system is always production ready, and prioritize the work that's most important to your users.
I mean, that's the hope. It would be nice to get there. Is that a priority for this project? Is that part of the thing to do all this stuff? Is it necessary? Do we got budget for that? Do we get time for that?
Release as early as you sensibly can. Now, even if the list of features that you imagined at the start is not yet complete, you've already got the most important stuff out and available to your users. The third big warning sign is focus on process over outcomes. Our aim is to deliver good working software to our users and to maintain our ongoing ability to do so.
Well, managers, that's all they know is process, man. They're Harvard MBAs. That's all they've been taught. They haven't taught the knowledge work, what knowledge workers, how we get their stuff done, or even know what that means. They never talk about that stuff. Well, I got factories. Come on, man.
This means that nothing else really matters. How many stories?
I'm laughing because it's so sad. It's so sad that we're in 2025 and Harvard is still pumping out MBAs, thinking every business, literally every single business is a factory. It can be broken down into steps, and it can be budgeted and time estimated. Come on, man.
Delivering a sprint is irrelevant if the stories that we deliver have no value to users. How good our test coverage is irrelevant if we still have lots of bugs that stop users making use of our software.
For banks, yeah, that might be serious. For like a weapons platform, yeah, that might be it might be necessary. But for the types of stuff we're writing on, we can get away with maybe the back end needs to do some of the stuff, but you don't have to like full on 1,024% test coverage. It's like, dude, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. That kind of thinking is totally gone. Happy path, some of the unhappy path, and keep it moving. Find a bug. Let's try and do a test for it, and later. Or maybe it's time for finding bugs, these weird edge conditions. Maybe it's time to revamp and do another version of this software. Oh my God, we got billions of dollars in that. It's like, yeah, but it's breaking all the time. It's very fragile or something. I mean, nobody understands it. All the people who designed it left a long time ago. Maybe it's time to quit it and start over. Can't do it. It's like, okay, well, then we suffer.
The fact that every function
maybe go out of business because somebody else will.
comments doesn't matter at all if our code is still difficult to change. So the red flag here are things like teams judged by how many story points they deliver, but no one checks that those features actually benefit the users. Or hitting code coverage targets.
What a bad idea. Great idea for factories, by the way. The story points, velocity, all this kind of junk. Yes, factories. You have to. It's standard. If you didn't do it, you would be a little chaos. But not the knowledge work stuff. It's pointless. It doesn't even mean anything. What does it mean? Ugh. Counting story points, and then you burn them. How dare you? I go with this in my adventure-driven development series. How dare you burn points? We earn points around here, sir. Let's keep going.
For testing being seen as more important than an increasing change failure rate. The fix for these things is to measure real outcomes. How long does it take to deliver changes to production? Are users happy when you do?
How do you do that?
Are the bugs minimal?
How do you know it's right? How do you know what if you're on target or not? How do you measure that, sir? Come on.
And quickly fixed. The steps in a process.
That means what this requires is people to be personally involved. Instead of box ticking, look at graphs go up, which I know the MBI guys, they really love that shit. Like the Harvard guys, give them a good chart, they're happy. But like but actually talking to people, talking to the customers, maybe doing a sales call, maybe learning about UI, UX, maybe designing some UI, UX, maybe giving some back of the napkin examples to your customers, talking stuff through on these sales calls, not just trying to close them, not like talking it through, like meeting their objectives, caring about the customer and his needs. I know it's shocking. I know it's very difficult. And this is all very soft. You can't measure it, but you can measure the results in the sales. But you can't measure this kind of stuff. It's like talking to people about what they want and how they like what they're trying to do and getting in their head and figuring out some tools of your trade that you're supposed to know. No, we just do a burn down chart.
May or may not be useful. But the way that we determine this is by understanding how they affect the outcomes that really matter. How fast can we deliver change into production? What's the quality of that change? How well do our changes land with our users?
Okay, there we go. So, but how do you measure that? Do you ask them? I think what happens is the sales go up, right? All of a sudden, your sales are going up. All of a sudden, you're getting the reviews that you're getting on your things are going up, right? Maybe that's how it is, but that's so far away from when we actually need the information. When we're like thinking about implementing these things, putting these things together, ideas of how to approach these problems and solutions. That's what we need the information. That's why they say they have to have the customer in the room. That's what they're talking about.
These things are more difficult to measure, sure, than counting velocity or test coverage or other
impossible to measure
process-centric metrics, but they are much more important. So if your project is being measured by how well you are adhering to some process, but you can't answer these other questions, these other more valuable.
That's called cargo cult, by the way. That's called cargo cult action. Because I've been at these companies, oh my God, and I ask them some of these questions because I didn't know. I thought they would know all this stuff because I came and I took a 10-minute break and they were all doing all this stuff when I came back. I was like, oh wow, this if you really much it's better. And I ask them, what is this for? And they're like, you just do it. I don't understand. Isn't this just like isn't this Jared just a to-do list? No, it's really much more. It has a burn down chart in it.
Questions, then that is a warning sign that you're heading off track. You're not likely to be doing the right things if you can't measure that you're doing the right thing. To solve this problem,
well, it's hard to measure some of this stuff, man. How do you measure some of this stuff? You don't know until you get the sales numbers to come in like, oh shit, you guessed right.
Are easy to measure, but that don't really matter. And
you can talk to them on the phone with like a solution space and talk to enough people doing knapdown sketches or Zoom calls where we're doing sketches to each other. Like, what about like this? What about like this? What about I put this over here, but over there? And not just taking their advice immediately, but like talking to people like, what if we did it like this? What if we did it like that? What did it with a wiffle ball bat?
Start measuring things that really do matter, even if they are more difficult to measure. Then make decisions based on the outcomes of these measurements.
Yeah, how do you measure that stuff? It's all like intuition and taste, art, context, language, culture. I don't know. I mean, your relationship, who's in charge, who's the customer.
Slow to make simple changes. I once was working with a developer refactoring some code to make it more testable. As we worked, I pointed out that our refactoring had uncovered some usefully reusable behavior. So I suggested that we create a new class to support our refactoring and make the code more easily testable and potentially more reusable. All of these, I think we'd agree, are normally good things. His head, though, dropped and his shoulders sagged. I asked him why the idea disappointed him so much. He said that the process for adding a new class involved changing the configuration in 3 places, reworking some documentation, and filling in a form to request permission to add a new class to the build.
Ooh, this is easy. This makes my job a lot of fun. Filling out forms to make classes. Oh man, you know why this happened? Somebody screwed up. So we will never have that happen again. We will confirm it with 3 configuration changes, documentation rework, and permission slips. And we'll never have a bug again.
This is less of a warning sign and more like a fire alarm. If something as small as creating a new class requires tons of paperwork or multiple permissions, then that certainly categorizes as a fire alarm to my mind. High-performing teams have the freedom to make decisions quickly and easily without asking for permission from anyone.
Yeah, your best people will leave. I mean, when this thing starts, when it gets to the bit, you could just guarantee all the best people have left a long time ago that have any kind of better options. And you see this happening, oh, it's the sinking ship, man. You're done. You're done. I don't know who, other than the government, I don't know who else could deal with this level of crap.
Anyone else. So the red flag here is excessive bureaucracy or lack of trust in development teams to make their own decisions. The fix.
But some places, that's just how that is. I mean, it's just, if you want the big paycheck because they can't keep the guys around that are already good because they make them go through this stuff. Oh, you're gonna pay. Oh, you're gonna pay for that stuff. Oh yeah. You think? Oh, so the only thing people can afford is like government or whatever, or finance, or whatever. They don't have any budgets that matter. They can just pay whatever they can to people who put up with this baloney.
Is to give developers the autonomy to make
leaking your soul every time you write each form.
Make design and implementation decisions without waiting for approval at every step.
The Dora approval on this
research found that the ability of a development team to make decisions like these on design.
I mean, pull request is sort of this thing, but it's more efficient, a little bit more efficient process. But still, the going back and forth in the comment section on some of these PRs is like, come on, what are you doing?
And implementation without asking permission from anyone else is a very strong predictor of high performance, and so a strong predictor of success. Warning sign number 5.
Maybe. I'd like to see some studies. Do you have studies on that, sir? Do you have any backup proof to back up those claims? I would like to see some because I don't think that's a thing. I mean, maybe your thesis is correct, but I don't know if it's correct.
The morale of development team.
I think some of this stuff is random. I think some of the stuff you get lucky. I think some of the stuff is you create a culture where you give people trust enough to go do stuff, and the people are like, hell yeah, finally I get to not put up with the form shit. And people are getting, you create a culture like that. That's more, and then you track people. It's like, I'm not even dealing with this bullshit. And they have another friend that's in that same thing. They're just into it as much as the other guy. It's like if you bring these, it creates this culture of this stuff. I don't think you can do this top down. Like, yeah, we got an efficient system. We can just plug right into your development platform.
Studies like Dora's also show that if development teams think that their system is bad.
So I think a lot of the leadership for these companies, the tech companies, that really have to be in the problem space and like into the tech space and understand software. It's 2025. You should be kind of if you're going to be doing tech company, you should kind of know a little bit about how software is put together and what's involved, and not just just do a little Python on the weekends. Like, no, you got to do more than Python on the weekend. You have some leadership, direction, architecture information, how to put this stuff together, how to talk to people, how to talk to customers, how to do sales.
They're usually right. Teams producing great software tend to know that they're doing well. So if team morale is low,
that's true.
That should be a big warning sign that something fundamental is off. Red flag is
some people don't care. Some people don't give a crap what your morale is. They just want the ticket done by the end of the sprint. And we're paying them, aren't we?
Developers feeling demoralized, untrusted, or micromanaged, and that they would not recommend their employers to their friends.
Yeah, that's what happens is that they don't get recommended. So the good people put up with this for a while, and then they leave, and then they go to a place. They'll keep bouncing around until they find a place. It's like, oh, okay, that's enlightened a little bit more. Then, how do they do it? Well, we got this management process, but it's like it's not even the management process; it's the attitude of how you treat each other, and the level of competency and level of skill required. There's a high bar, and it's elitist as hell. It's just totally elitist, but there's a good reason for it because they're not willing to put up with this other stuff and willing to put in the hours not to put up with it. So that's another thing too.
The fix here is to boost autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Let teams make key decisions, encourage learning, and ensure that everyone knows why the work that they're doing really matters. 6 in my
that's asking a lot of these Harvard MBAs.
list. Reliance on heroes. If everything relies on rockstar developers to rescue a failing project, then that's a very serious warning sign. Red flag is one person who is the only one who can fix or understand certain areas.
I mean, every project is going to have the person, that 80% person. That's just how it is. That's just how it is. And if you can structure your company so you don't make their life a living hell, which makes them, he's an asshole. But when you're putting too much pressure on the guy, it's like working with a bone. Like force him to go on vacation, that kind of stuff. Like don't make his life a living hell, you know? And so that's the other thing too. Is like there's a reason why people get annoyed because you're asking them to fill out forms to change classes.
The code or certain practices. The fix to this is to spread that knowledge. You can do this with techniques like practicing prayer or mob programming. Spread the knowledge so that no one person is a bottleneck. Warning sign number 7, low scores on the DORA metrics. The DORA metrics measure stability and throughput. That is the quality of the software that we produce and the efficiency with which we can create software of that.
What is that? How do you measure that, sir?
Quality. If you score poorly on both of these things, then you're delivering low quality.
What does that mean? I don't even know how you measure this. This is where I get a little like, what do you mean, dude? How do you measure this? What's change or fail rate? All these can be gamed. All these can have good Hart's law applied to them. So these are not really key metrics. In fact, now maybe looking in retrospect, you might be able to see it. If you don't, but if you're trying to monitor these in real time, I don't even know how you would. This is back to the Harvard MBA trying to make everything a production line. It's like it's not like this. This is no for production lines. Yes, for a factory, you better believe you better track all this stuff. You better track all this stuff completely. Everybody means your machines are messing up somewhere, and then you're gonna be screwing your product up. But in software, when we're trying out new ideas, is that a failure? If an idea that we try doesn't take off, and now I'm so failure. So every idea has to come up with has to have success. You're asking, that's not possible, by the way. So even just considering it to be possible or even measurable, I mean, how would you even do that? We got to find a different way. This is all psychological soft stuff. It's like curation of like, who's your audience? What's the problem space? Who are we building this for?
Software slowly, by definition. This is pretty much a guaranteed route towards failure. The red flag is deployment frequency being low.
Failure, that word's like maybe it's just an experiment that didn't work. And we're trying something else. And we're trying to, this is a new space. We're trying to dig into some new niche. We're trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. I mean, what do you mean failure?
Lead times are long.
It's like an experiment that didn't work.
Change failure rates are high, and the mean time to recovery is slow.
What does that mean? What do you mean? This is all manufacturing stuff. Yes, if you're doing manufacturing, these are super critically important. But in software, how do you even measure these? Let's keep going.
The fix is to start implementing techniques like continuous integration, automated testing, frequent releases, and quick rollbacks or fixes.
I mean, yeah, I guess. What is frequent? What do you mean? How about when the feature is ready and when I've talked to the people on the phone, we did the sales call and said, well, you should look like this, and the CEO is like, here's the doing napkins sketches. Can we do it like this? And we've got boxes and lines and graphs, and we're all talking like the same language, same domain language, and we're all trying to figure out what to do. And how long does it take? Takes as long as it takes, man. So do we have a platform that allows us to have frequently changes? Is that part of the thing? It's like, yeah, we built that in from the beginning. Then, well, maybe it's not take that long. But if we put all this friction in and change request forms, and you got 3 layers of management, they need to confirm that you're allowed to type class. Then you're gonna take forever. You tell me how long it's gonna. You put all these things up there. You tell me. I'm just typing class here, and you're the one that needs all the permission slips.
Improve the speed and quality of feedback loops to catch issues sooner. Warning sign number 8. Making progress in big steps. Big multi-month plans reduce your opportunities to learn and adapt.
I mean, the plan maybe you got 3 months. Here it is. Here's the thing. We got this idea. We got this app that we want to build, or something we want to sell. Something. We got 3 months, man, to make it. Because there's this other thing coming out, or we don't know whether there might be some other thing happening. We just need to get our customers together. We got some people in mind already. Then we just need to start asking them to sign up for our email list and start giving them sketches to them and see if we can come up with something. You got 6 months.
Alternative is to treat development as a constant cycle of experimentation and discovery, rather than trying to find and then fix in some plan what you think are the best ideas before you begin. It's much more effective to assume that your ideas at any point.
Thank you. Yes. Start out wrong. Yes, all this is wrong. It's bad. It's not going to work. It's probably going to fail. It's high risk. Why are you trying this? You're crazy. You should try something. Look, man, if you're thinking about saving your money, you should try something else, because it's probably not going to go well, but until it does. And when it does, it usually goes off like a damn rocket. But like until then, maybe it will be like it's done, like a firecracker does. I want the Big Bang. It's like we don't have the formula yet, right? And all of a sudden it goes. And you're like, oh my god, what happened? It's like we finally figured out what the customer wanted.
At the beginning of a project are all wrong. So think about how your ideas might fail. And also design your systems to be easy to change so that you can correct the mistakes when you do find them.
Hopefully, yeah. That's about my course, How to Program from the Ground Up. It talks you how to start structure, which is Alan Kay. It's just Alan Kay and Bugayinko. Yegor Bugayinko is his stuff. It's like, yeah, you want to make your stuff easy, follow those principles, those rules, or seems like no static variables. What about my performance? Like you have to do certain things, choices, which are kind of like make sense, but like if you're trying to come up the C++ route, a Java route, it's like every single thing we have to throw in there, every single feature we have to use. Yeah, if you're doing it that way, you're probably not going to have a good time.
Flag here is usually visible through features planned far into the future and not released or tested for months or years.
Right.
The fix is to work in smaller steps. Release more frequently. And get fast feedback where you can from real users, whatever that takes. If you find your team working
with the real users, well, like unlike what you're doing before, just well, we're gonna need feature X, Y, Z, X, Y. Obviously, we're gonna need the add-ons to that feature, and then those are gonna need add-ons and options and abilities. Like you build out a whole thing. What is really crazy. So the first, before I got into software, like as a professional software developer, I worked in tech support while I was in college going to school. I worked in a tech support department, so I listened to the customers talking about the software that our company was making, which is a desktop publishing software, artistic software, and some games. It was called Silicon Beach Software was the company I was working at. And so 2 years on the phones listening to people's how we thought people would use these programs, how I heard people at the company talk about how people would use the software and how they were actually using it and what features they were actually implementing, where they're having problems, and the disconnect between the two was very, very enlightening. Yeah, the programmers will go off in weird directions, and people will never touch that code. They were just like not interested, don't care, not our problem. Well, who is this for? We don't care. But could you fix this thing that's glaring, like that my to get stuck every time I do this thing over here? Every time I print, this thing makes this weird thing happen over here. Could you fix that? And they're gonna bring the programs. Oh, that's just a simple fix. Well, why don't you fix it?
Working on detailed plans for work that is going to be carried out months ahead and working on features that won't be released for weeks or months or even years ahead, this is a big warning sign. Yeah. Instead, find out how to optimize your development process so that you could release at any time. This
anytime, that thing that's just like, I think he's being a little cheeky with that. Go just release it anytime. It's like, well, how about release it when it's ready? When we've tested it, when we've looked at it, when we've tried it out ourselves, when we've done our own little internal beta test, and then we'll release it. Not anytime. Like that was I've heard like that was thinking like you're supposed to be ready anytime. It's like, well, this isn't ready right now. This isn't a state that's not really. It's gonna break because I haven't built that other thing yet. Because I'm still in the middle of typing this thing. I'm still in the middle of typing this code out. So anytime it should be ready anytime. It's like, hey, ease up on the ready anytime thing. How about like when we have a feature to go, we'll have a stage thing where we show ourselves, we show our teammates, and then we show bigger group, and then maybe we release it in the next beta. So we can manage this process and not be so, no, you have to push it out immediately while you're typing it. It's like, stop.
On fast feedback and the other techniques of continuous delivery. Organizing our work like this allows us to work more incrementally, growing our software small step by small step. And that allows us more opportunities to learn.
Sometimes you just can't do it that way. Sometimes you got to do a big step. And that's just the way it goes. And that's just how it goes. I mean, it's nice to do small step, but sometimes you can't do small step. Sometimes you have to do big step, and you just do it. You work it through it, and that's how you do it.
And correct our course when we detect a mistake. Ninth in my list is poor or no feedback loops. We've already talked about feedback.
Yeah, you have to have the feedback. That's critical, unless you're doing feedback with your customer. So if your customer just wants reports of burn down charts, then that's good enough. But if your customer wants to have new software shipping that it fixes a new update that prints their print drivers fixed, that's a different feedback loop, right? I've been in situations where it's both these things. They're like, one does the customer driven, one is this other who is the customer driven.
But good short feedback loops allow us to steer our projects towards success.
Yeah, yeah.
If we don't know whether our new features work for users, or even if our code is releasable or not, then we're driving blind. The red flag is rare
Well, I mean, okay.
or non-existent feedback from users, no automated checks. And the fix is to shorten the feedback cycles at every level. Always optimize for shorter, higher quality feedback everywhere that you can. User feedback, automated builds, continuous integration, and frequent production releases are all tools that help us to achieve this.
I mean, yes, okay.
And now for our bonus
I'll let
warning,
him have
number 10.
I'll let him have it.
Building the wrong thing. Perhaps the most obvious.
Building the wrong thing. Yes, that's totally it most of the time. But bring wrong thing for who? Right? Is it the VC's idea? Do they have a customer in mind? Are you building it for them? And just one customer, but they're trying to make it seem like there's going to be a big group of people, or are you bootstrapping the thing and you have no VC and you're doing it you're trying to build something customers want. You build a little piece at a time, 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 and hopefully getting customers involved along the way and funding it that way. That's a whole different focus.
A most critical form of software project failure.
One's going to build the thing the customer wants, and one's going to build the thing the VC wants, because the VC is the customer. It's like, who's the customer here? Who are we building this thing for? Because a lot of these companies, I'm like, this isn't really for who you say it's for. This is for someone to show someone else that they have this thing. It's not really for the people that you say, because we would be building it differently, and I'd be talking to them. Jesus Christ, not talking to this other person who's telling me what they want to see on the marketing brochures. I'd be talking to the actual person who's walking the beat with this thing. Anyway, let's keep going.
He's building something that no one wants or cares about. This may seem like an obvious mistake that no one would ever make, surely.
Oh,
but in
constant.
reality, it's extremely common. Microsoft did some...
Yeah, because of this. I've never heard anybody talk about this who's the customer thing. Who are we doing the customer? The person they say they're working it for, or somebody else? Because a lot of times it's somebody else.
Search and found that 2/3 of their ideas produced 0 or negative value on the scale of measured for the idea that it was meant to improve.
Yeah.
Estimates of how often features that we produce as an industry are never used at all range from between 40 and 90%.
Yeah, in tech support, it was like 80% of the programs that I was doing tech support, people never touched the features that they were working on for months and months and months. But this other 20% that they're actually using, have questions about, or whatever, I would ask them, do you ever try these? Like, no, never heard of it, don't care. Yeah, I gotta go, bye. So I was like, people are doing a lot of work and nobody cares about it. And sometimes I bring it up to some of the engineers they wouldn't want to hear. It's like, I'm on the phones, man. Are you on the phones? Have you taken a call lately, ever, for your product? You haven't. Maybe you should. It would be very interesting for you to hear what people say about your product. And guess how many people did tech support? Of all those engineers that thought they knew everything that the customer needed to know, guess how many would go lower themselves to go in tech support and take a call or two? Guess. If you guess 0, you're correct.
So building the wrong things is at least common, and is probably more common than building things that people do want. The red flag to look out for is that we don't have any users. There's no feedback, no bug reports, even though we know that our software...
More servers than users. Yeah, it's extremely common. Everybody's like, I got the most amazing thing ever. How many users you got? Well, I got 62 servers, all microservice stuff. This thing's going to scale once we hit virality. But how many users do you have now? Do you understand our AWS bill? It's like, well, how many people are you processing? Well, my friend, he's got a good account.
He's out there and buggy. The fix is to involve real users in the development process.
Yeah, that's hard, man. Finding users and then finding a problem that you can solve, especially on your own, is super hard. He says like, oh, just have real users, like from the outset. Oh, it's really easy for you to say, Dave, because you get involved after somebody found a problem that could get users that will pay money, that will afford your ass to come down and show them how to do test-driven development.
Either recruit tame users who can give you suggestions and feedback as you build the software, or release your software more frequently into
production. Wouldn't that be nice? So that's the dream.
And observe it to determine how it's used and which
customer on the team. Yeah. No, that's not. You you have early adopters. They're called early adopters. If people are super into whatever the thing is that you say you're gonna be able to provide to them, and those are the people that you want to make sure you charge them, because a lot of people use their free stuff, but when it comes time to actually pay, they're like, nah, I'm good. And so they have to be paying customers somehow. So that's even puts a whole nother wrinkle in it. But that's, you're not trying to be dick. You're trying to like prove that the value that you're bringing to the table is worth it for at least one person before you try and market it out to 150 to 1,000 people. At least you're providing value for one person, and if you get one person, you got all the wins. That's the real key, and that people try to skip over that, right? Because they want to defer that cycle. They don't want the dream to die. They don't want to. They don't want to realize how fucking hard it is.
Parts are ignored. That's the end of my list. Thank you very much for watching.
All right, yeah, that's good enough. I'll put my 2 cents in. I hope you got some benefit out of that, or at least some chuckles out of it, because I ranted along with Dave. It continues to really go give him a like, subscribe. He does a good job. He just makes it sound a lot easier than it really is.